Good evening. I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a look at housing cash from the federal government and how municipalities are trying to tap into it. You might recall months ago, Windsor was rejected from the fund while Tecumseh got a green light. Chris Ensing breaks down some of the confusion around how to get access.
The Canadian government promised billions of dollars to help with the affordable housing crisis inside of something called the Housing Accelerator Fund. They had cities and towns pitch them on what they would plan to do with the money and started signing deals last year. But there's a key condition that has caused some confusion. Here's how it's playing out in Southern Ontario. London was the first city to sign a deal, $74 million over 3 years for a plan that will build 2,000 units. The biggest chunk of that money is going to get used for developers to convert empty offices into housing units. This 8-story building will become 94 residential units. $3.2 million helps that private developer pair with a nonprofit and church group to do the renovation. It's expected to be finished next fall, with 40% designated as affordable units. Tecumseh had a deal in place, but not worth nearly as much. It's funded at a little more than $4 million over 3 years, and inside of that plan are a number of initiatives. And that includes making the permit process an online-based application, reducing some fees around extra housing units, and encouraging and incentivizing people to build mid-sized apartments in the town's core. But the biggest contention is the 4 units as a right condition. How many units will be allowed on a residential lot? A unit is a livable space with its own kitchen, washroom, and separate entrance. Here's what that can look like: a single detached home, a suite in the backyard, and another unit on top of the garage. Ontario's government allows 3 units in any neighborhood in every city or town. The Canadian government said councils need to change that to 4 units to get this deal. Advocates say that condition will build density and help bring down housing costs. Opponents argue that it will irreversibly change neighborhoods that they bought homes in, and that roads and sewers aren't built for those types of builds. Oakville had a deal in place for $36 million under the program without the 4-unit condition, but when the feds asked for that to be a condition, they canceled the deal when council refused. Now, around the same time, Windsor City Council decided not to add that condition of 4 units as a right. The application denied, the city losing out on up to $70 million. Tecumseh hasn't decided what they're going to do with this condition yet. They're doing public consultation and want to know if people want to see 4 units as a right across the town, only in undeveloped parts, or only in specific configurations. Town staff do not believe that this will jeopardize the deal that they have with the federal government, even after Oakville's got declined and Windsor's passed over. Council has to make its decision before March. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
If you're looking to learn more about Windsor's real estate market, you do have options. You could phone a friend, you could call your realtor, or you could just ask AI. That's exactly what Mohammed Al-Mohammed did. He was looking for a home on a budget and started by asking Google Gemini, Bing AI, and ChatGPT for advice.
How could be a 3-bedroom house in downtown Windsor? I'm asking about the cost.
I tried to find the best deals and ask about the history for properties with the same features in the same street in the past 5 years.
As a newcomer to Windsor, he's thrilled to land his first home in Canada, a property in the downtown core. Affordability was important to him, and AI helped him find what he was looking for. All right, let's give this a try now together. I'm going to ask ChatGPT about where to look in Windsor if I want to buy a house for less than $500,000. Here we go. So the answer here, I will say, is a little bit non-specific, but it does point out that Ford City and Sandwich are both areas where you might find those lower price points. This realtor says 25% of his clients use AI to get a feel for the Windsor market.
It's just an extra help for a buyer to become educated buyer.
And it's not just buyers. Rawat uses it too, for marketing, even negotiations.
What I did is I took this message that was given by the seller agent and I put it into the ChatGPT and I asked how to reply the following. So then I got a, here is a potential reply. So that's what I got it. And then I just rephrased it a little bit in my sense and I sent it to the seller agent.
It is not a 100% reliable source, but that does not mean it is 0% reliable.
This AI researcher says that if you're not already using artificial intelligence, you could be at a disadvantage. He says that realtors should be using it to analyze data, to figure out the best pricing strategies, and to even digitally stage homes. And as for buyers, he says that it's a good way to get your initial questions out of the way so that when the time comes to speak with your realtor, you can have a more informed, higher quality conversation.
Could it replace realtors?
Oh, in long term, in theory, yes, I would say that. But in practical, there is a very, very long way to go.
He says ultimately you still need humans to help you make important decisions. The population of Windsor, Essex is poised to hit 500,000, with Statistics Canada saying new immigrants and non-permanent residents are behind the growth, all while the region remains at the top of the country's unemployment list. And yet we're also seeing a record number of people working. A local researcher weighs in on the numbers.
Windsor, for a long time, has had a sort of challenge of people without jobs and jobs without people, and that there's been labor force disconnects in our community for a long time. You know, as the economy has transitioned through manufacturing and from manufacturing, there is a bit of a lag in our educational attainment rate here in Windsor, where we have a lower rate of post-secondary achievement than provincial and national levels. So is there a chance that there are jobs here in Windsor, but you know, we have people in some cases who are looking but don't have the right qualifications? Absolutely.
Workforce Windsor Essex believes the region's jobless rate will decline next year as more newcomers land in specialized positions like at the new bridge and the EV battery plant. We've got Colette with us now for a quick look at weather. Colette, how's it looking out there?
Well, you know, it's not looking too bad. I mean, it was pretty mild, mostly through the overnight hours, but even today, our temperatures above normal for this time of year. Not a lot of activity, of course, but why do I have this image on? Why are we looking at the Midwestern U.S.? Well, you guessed it, because this system here is the next weather maker that's going to be moving through and having an impact on us, although it will be a slight impact. And the reason for that is it's moving very quickly. Much of it kind of tracks just to the north of us, so we get just a glance with some wet flurries that will be coming through early tomorrow. -1 tonight, and Katarina 2 degrees for the high tomorrow.
Okay, we'll talk more about that when you come back. Thanks, Colette.
Sounds good.
Now, if it seems like Canadian winters have been warmer than usual in recent years, you're not wrong. A new analysis shows there have been more days of above zero temperatures during winter. And as Anand Ram reports, climate change is being blamed.
Not ideal weather for an outdoor rink. Joelle Campbell's been helping set this one up every year for a decade, and lately, consistent below zero temperatures are hard to come by.
I would say in my first 5 years here, we had one bad year, whereas in my second 5 years here, we've had one good year.
Across the country, a new analysis from the nonprofit Climate Central says climate change is adding more above zero days to winter. The biggest loser of sub-zero weather is Vancouver at almost 3 weeks. It's about a week warmer in Montreal, and in Toronto, it's almost 2 full weeks above freezing every winter.
You can feel it, you know, you don't need the data really to see that, because I feel it just working at the rink here.
The whole family went skating.
To be clear, the weather may still bring us scenes like this, the winters we used to know. But the more the climate is warmed by humans burning fossil fuels, the more likely those winters become warmer and wetter.
Many regions depend on having a healthy, thick snowpack heading into spring. And when you don't have that, then there's less water for the drier and warmer months of the year.
And beyond food or fun, researchers say ice that's been exposed to above zero temperatures may have hidden weaknesses.
These weaker ice conditions contribute to more drownings through ice. And the highest number of drownings occur at the beginning and the end of the winter season.
It's more management on your part, right?
It is, yeah. Scheduling is a little trickier. We need to be able to, be nimble and flood when the time allows us.
For Campbell, who taught his 3 children to skate on this rink, it's still worth waiting for those freezing days even if they're fewer and far between.
If we can get it open for even part of the holidays, is just a huge benefit for the whole neighborhood.
There is hope for a wintry future, but experts say the time to act is now, before future generations end up on a path they can't control. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
And despite the lack of snow here in Windsor, there's no shortage of holiday magic, especially if you're lucky enough to hop on a very special school bus decked out for the season. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Judy Steinhoff, and I drive this beautiful school bus here, and I decorated it as a gingerbread house for Christmas. So as you can see, I've put many hours into it. I bring my bus home during the day. I put the brown paper up, came back the weekend later, it all fell down. Redo it again. So as you see, there's lots of tape. The white tape is now our icing on a gingerbread because we all need icing. So as you see, this is our house. Every house needs a fireplace. So I've added a fireplace this year with the chimney. As you see on the side are all the gingerbread that the students have decorated. This year we made a contest. Who decorates the best? They get to put the lights on in the afternoon. So you would think they want to sit at the back, but they want to sit at the front and talk to Miss Judy. And I'm like, Miss Judy's got to drive the bus. I just want to keep spreading happiness for the children. We've had a lot of gloomy days, but hey, this is going to make you smile. Everybody loves the school bus. I have teachers come on, parents come, can I take a picture? I'm like, I'll send the picture to you. Here is our Christmas tree with presents under it. And these are my trophies that I'm going to present to the students today for the best gingerbreads, just to see the students smile. Every day when I drop them off at the school, I tell them, don't forget to share your smile today.
That is the best. And continuing with the holiday cheer, as you know, our Make the Season Kind campaign continues all month long, collecting items for local food banks. And for the second year in a row, the Catholic School Board has taken part in the drive with a fun twist. Check it out.
This is our can structure contest. This is the second year doing it for CBC for their Make the Season Kind contest, which obviously is a really important priority for us. We want to be able to kind of model good behavior for all of our schools and students and show that we're willing to step up and do something for vulnerable people in our communities. Everybody gets involved in the fun. The challenge is basically to build the most creative can structure with all of the cans they've collected for the Make the Season Kind cause. They've built all their structures, and then tomorrow, of course, we'll be doing all the judging. We've got some people who are really into STEM education back there, so engineering is something that they're really into. So they built a structure based on the Gordie Howe Bridge. Bottles of water underneath to represent the river, and then they've got the bridge deck. A lot of football fans in the area that we work in, a lot of Detroit Lions fans. So our can structure represents Ford Field, and we've got all of the cans sort of setting up the tiers around the outside of the field. We've got some little minions on the field to represent the players, and of course we've got an iPad set up at the back there to represent the giant scoreboard.
I've got Dale Molnar in studio with me now. We've told you that Dale is retiring after more than 30 years at the CBC. And this week we're taking a look back at your career. So Dale, what story do you want to look back on tonight?
Well, today we're going back almost 21 years to 2004 and the tragic Pelee Island plane crash. And I'm sure many of you remember this. I covered this story extensively. It happened on Saturday, January 17th, 2004. At that time, I had shifts both at CBC and the Windsor Star, and that afternoon I was working for the Star in Leamington, and I was there around the time of the crash, just after 4:30, and there was this weird freezing mist. It seemed like it would be just wet when it came down on the car, but when I went out to the car, there was a layer of ice there. And later on that evening, a Cleveland newspaper called the newsroom just as I was leaving and asked if I had known about this plane crash where 9 people died on Pelee Island, and that was the first I'd heard of it. The night reporter took over, but we were of course busy the next day. Turned out 10 people died. Including 2 hunting dogs. It was 8 pheasant hunters. And I covered several stories about this as they tried to look for it over 3 weeks. The Transportation Safety Board findings, they found that ice on the wing was a cause, the pilot error, and also I covered funerals and lawsuits as well.
And Dale, you also won an award for your coverage. And tell us quickly about how this led to some change at the airport.
So there was a civil trial that found out that the company that ran the airline did not provide the proper de-icing procedures, ladders, and that was also implemented afterwards, and also they added a crew member. And there's also a memorial on the island now.
Dale will be back tomorrow night with more, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. This was another day of uncertainty and bitterness on Parliament Hill. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faced more calls to step down, both from outside his party and within, after his finance minister's stunning resignation yesterday, just hours before she was to deliver the fall economic statement. But as Ashley Burke reports, Trudeau has some time to consider his next move, now that the House of Commons has begun its holiday break.
This House stands adjourned.
As Parliament's fall sitting ends, an increasing number of Liberal MPs say it should be the end of Justin Trudeau.
I believe there needs to be a leadership change.
Last night, Trudeau told disaffected MPs he's heard their concerns and would think about his future, but has said that before and stayed on.
The Prime Minister is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
In the last 24 hours, half a dozen additional Liberal MPs have joined public calls for Trudeau to quit, even past offenders.
I've always been loyal to Mr. Trudeau. I think loyalty, though, is not a one-way street. I think he should reflect on his future.
A final straw for some, yesterday's bombshell resignation by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, after she says Trudeau told her she was being moved out of finance.
Whatever happened, the culmination was that she was treated very abysmally.
Liberal MP Anthony Housefather says Freeland's resignation letter was a call to action.
To me, it said, Anthony, you also have an obligation to speak out the way Chrystia did. What I think he should do for the best interest of the party and the best interest of the country is to resign as leader of the Liberal Party so we can select a new leader.
In another blow, the Liberals were defeated last night in a third by-election this year, this time in BC.
The Canadian people have basically been telling us for some time, the street has been talking to us, and they're saying that this leader cannot be supported. And we have to listen to that, and the Prime Minister has to listen to that.
But cabinet ministers and other MPs are standing behind Trudeau.
He has my confidence.
He's a strong leader. He's focused on delivering for Canadians.
I think all of us should be loyal to the Prime Minister.
The opposition seizing on it all.
What a mess. Yesterday was a gong show at the bottom of a dumpster fire, wrapped up in a cluster.
Let's call an election before the end of January.
Trudeau has to go.
The Prime Minister right now is facing a return to Parliament in the new year with no clear idea if any opposition parties or even his own caucus will support him. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ottawa has unveiled details of its plans to secure the Canada-U.S. border in response to Donald Trump's tariff threat.
Our new border plan, backed by an investment of $1.3 billion, will secure our border against the flow of illegal drugs and irregular migration, while ensuring the free flow of people and goods that are at the core of North America's prosperity.
The public safety minister says new measures will include information sharing and improving coordination between law enforcement agencies. He also hinted at investing in new tools and technology to detect drug trafficking. And postal workers across Canada are back on the job today after their month-long strike. That was the moment the first of the picket lines went down this morning, and Canada Post employees were allowed to pass into work. But if you're hoping the strike's end means your delayed deliveries will arrive before Christmas, be warned. Canada Post says there is a backlog of several million parcels, and it will take several days at least to get caught up. No new mail or parcels will be accepted into the system until Thursday, and no new international items will be taken in before December 23rd, with delivery delays possible into the new year. The latest numbers from Statistics Canada show inflation continuing to move lower. November's inflation rate was 1.9%, down from 2% in October. StatsCan says it was mostly driven by lower mortgage interest costs and cheaper travel tours. Drops in costs were seen across the board. The price of groceries slowed from last year, but those costs still remained high. And core inflation measures, excluding the food and energy sectors, were well above the Bank of Canada's 2% target. And we will have more news, we will have more weather for you after the break. Colin Kennedy will join us. Just stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back now for a closer look at weather. So Colette, talk us through tomorrow and beyond.
I would be happy to do that because there are some fluctuations and those kind of things where, well, we're getting so used to the ups and downs of the temperatures, but you got to be kind of prepared. So, all right, 7, 8 degrees, you're like, wait, is that? No, this is midnight last night. I just want to show you kind of what happened with our temperatures. We know how mild it was and then how they came down through the day. By 10 a.m., around 3 degrees, and kind of 3 to 4 degrees is sort of where we sat through the day. That was at 5 p.m., and we'll give you your current reading, at 4 still. So the high for the day will go into our climate data recorded as coming, around 1 a.m., between midnight and 1 a.m. last night when we were into that milder air, and then the temperatures kind of cooled off, but still above seasonal. So still mild conditions that we're experiencing, and that really factors in with what's going to happen with this next system moving our way. Mostly a west to southwesterly flow here, a little different for Sarnia with the influence of the lake, not very strong now. As we go into the evening hours and tonight and tomorrow, that'll sort of be the case. We do have some cloud cover that we're dealing with, but it's really quiet, the conditions through the early overnight. It's this system here, not a lot of moisture associated with it, so it's not very strong, and it's going to be moving very, very quickly. And the way it kind of tracks through southwestern Ontario, that it pulls a bit north, but also that these temperatures, because the temperature profile is sort of just above freezing in there as we warm up, a few wet flurries is what's most likely, kind of early morning. This is at 11 a.m. and by then it's almost moved out, and because it moves so quickly, it isn't around for that long. So could we get a little bit of slush kind of here and there on the ground? Yeah, it's possible, or a little bit of mixing, but I wouldn't anticipate accumulations because it should just be melting on contact. Then we could see some breaks as the day wears on, and into Thursday as well, kind of quite a bit of cloud cover, a few sunny breaks, and a few flurries in our skies. And several days of that where we'll see with the lake influence, a flurry activity kind of here or there. Overnight temperatures tonight, so just barely slipping below freezing. We're just going to ease into this. -1 overnight tonight, 2 degrees for the high on Wednesday, and that's why this will melt. And then the overnights the next few days beyond that, see how they're pretty gentle too. Then it's going to take some getting used to. On Saturday, we officially have winter arriving, and with that, some very cold air. A chilly start on Saturday, and an even cooler beginning on Sunday morning. That overnight low, -12. Katerina.
Thanks so much for that, Colette. And thanks to you all for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Good night.